Pulling in the clutch, the rider hits the kill switch and cuts the engine, coasting about 200 yards before braking. He kicks down the side stand and climbs off the bike. A specific car parked just down the street tells him he has arrived in time to do what he had to do. He looks around. Only a couple of houses are still showing lights, otherwise the street is dark. He slips through the gate and walks toward the house. He does not approach the door, instead walks down the side and picks up the piece of wood he knows to be there and settles down to wait in the shadows. He does not have to wait long. Less than 5 minutes pass before he hears water flowing down the drain and knows that someone is using the shower. Another minute or so, and he hears the front door opening. He is grateful that the porch light does not come on. Keeping low, he moves from his hiding place and watches the man close the front door. As the man turns and begins walking, perhaps it is his need to keep the meeting he has just had secret. It may be that the blow is not as hard as was intended. Whichever the reason, he only lets out a low groan as the wood strikes him on his knees. The assailant expects him to scream in pain, at least cry out. But the only sound other than the impact of wood hitting kneecaps is a stifled ugh as his reflexes force him to take a step back. Standing, the aggressor takes a backstroke for another swing, this time. The blow is straight to the face and puts the recipient down. The only sound other than the impact is the sound of the unconscious body hitting the floor. Methodically and systematically, the antagonist breaks the arms, legs, hands, elbow, and knee joints of the unconscious man. The only reason to suspect he is not a professional is the small gasp of surprise at the popping sound the kneecaps make when they are broken. The victim does not regain consciousness as he is beaten. Aside from the one blow to the face, the assailant is careful not to damage the head, ribs, and genitals of his prey. Less than 2 minutes after the attack began, the attacker walked back to the motorcycle. An ambulance siren pulls me from my thoughts. It overtakes and it seems to be going in the same direction I am. In fact, I follow it all the way to my home. A home currently brightly illuminated with a multitude of blue flashing lights coming from 3 police cars and now the ambulance. A number of uniformed people are milling about the front garden. I pull up in the nearest available space and run toward my house. "What the hell is going on?" I scream. One policeman tries to stop me. I dodge past him, firing out questions at everyone and no one, and start shouting. Anne, where are you? Anne, where the hell is my wife? What has happened?" And finally, "Who the hell is that? And why is he lying on my doorstep?" Another copper gets in my way. I fire similar questions at him. "Sir, please identify yourself and your reason for being here." Shit. Me asking about Anne and calling her my wife should make those questions redundant. How can these jerks, the people that are supposed to solve crime, not have a clue? "I live here. Now where is my wife?" "Sir, please restrain yourself and stop the abusive language. There is really no need." "Really? How the hell do you know? You ever come home to find your house crawling with you, doing whatever the hell it is that you're doing? No one, not one of you will tell me where my wife is, let alone how she is, never mind telling me who the hell that guy is and why he is laying on my front doorstep." "The lady of the house is being interviewed inside, sir." "But she's all right?" I asked. "Yes, sir." At last, a straight answer. I thank the copper and duck around him as he is distracted by the bloke on my doorstep being relocated via stretcher. With PC Bright trailing after me, I go inside and find Anne and a couple of plainclothes officers in the front room. "What the hell is going on, Anne? Why is some guy half dead on the doorstep?" She starts wailing and one of the cops says, "Mr. Dugan, calm yourself down." "Why? More to the point, how?" I demand, "I get home after a long day and find all this stuff going on and no guy will tell me why." The 2 plainclothes look at each other and the one that told me to calm down speaks. At 11:49, a call was made to the emergency services and reported a man being beaten at this address. A car was dispatched, but by the time it arrived on the scene, the assailant had left the area. The officers assessed the victim and called for an ambulance and support. Now where were you at 10 to 12? Coming down the A1 at a guess, probably around the A605 junction. Why do you think I did this? What reason would I have? I break off and look at my wife. Were you being intimate with that guy? She wails again, burying her face in her hands. You were, weren't you? I shout. She continues to cry into her hands. I give a snort of disgust and look at the copper. If you find out who did this, tell him I owe him a beer or two. Now, if it's all the same to you, I'll go for a shower. Sorry, sir. We need to make sure you were not involved in the attack. Check you for blood and such. I give him a look that I hope shows disbelief before I bend and start to remove my boots. I kick them off and then remove my sweatshirt, t-shirt, and jeans as I defiantly stare him in the face, clad only in my socks and shreddies, and gesture to my clothes on the floor and ask, "Anything else?" "Sir?" He takes a deep breath before continuing. "Please put your clothes back on." "Why? So you can drag me down the nick in a bit, make me take them off again, and wear some paper jumpsuit until you deign to release me? No, you can bug off. In fact, I'm not going to put any clothes on. I'm going for a shower." "Sir, you can't," he says as I walk away from him, instead of heading toward the door. I walk to the sideboard and pour myself a deep glass of Jameson's. Stark naked, I turn and stare at him as I down it and pour myself another. I raise my glass to him and smile before downing the second, watching as he is now frantically discussing something with one of his colleagues. He and his colleague begin walking toward me as I am pouring a third. "Sir, we need you to refrain from drinking. We will need to formally question." You need. It's all about your needs. Well, I needed to come home and not find a herd of cops and ambulance men in my front garden. I needed to come home to a loving and faithful wife. I did not need to find my wife's boyfriend on my doorstep, and right now I need a shower, a drink, and you guys out of my house. Feel free to take the bag with you. Another pitiful wail comes from the wife. I glance over to her. I didn't intend to. An involuntary action. A reflex. I look for less than a second. She is standing alone, crying. Her hands have dropped uselessly to her sides. She looks weak, helpless, and beaten, staring at me, her eyes pleading, probably for understanding, perhaps sympathy, something, anything, to comfort her. Well, forget her. She caused this, so she can deal with it. I drain my glass and head up to go and change. I don't get far before some bird in a yellow plastic coverall accosts me. After a few demands from her, I reluctantly allow her to check me over for signs that I have been in an altercation. Of course, she finds none, and after I give her the clothes I have just taken off, gives me permission to clean up and get dressed. She declines my offer to wash my back. The foul aroma of betrayal assaults my nose as I enter the bedroom, with the sharp stench of stale whiskey quickly mingling with the lingering odors of sweat and intimacy. With painful spasms clutching at my abdomen, anger overcomes me, and I drag the soiled mattress off the bed, down the stairs outside, and leave it on the front lawn. Returning to the bedroom, I fling a window open and start flinging her clothes and other belongings out of it. "Mr. Dugan, Mr. Dugan." Hearing my name, I pause briefly, and then continue to eject the detritus of my marriage out of the window. "Mr. Dugan." I turn to him. "Mr. Dugan, I need you to come with me so I can formally take your statement." "Why?" I asked. "You know damn well why. You already have my statement, and unless you arrest me, I will not go to the cop shop with you," I say smugly. "In fact, I will make sure you are completely to blame in my suit for wrongful arrest. I, unlike the majority of your customers, have done nothing wrong." I didn't add anything more. I have no need. I can prove it, and I'm sure he'll find that out later. I watch him as the anger builds, his eyes, the rising color of his neck to his face. He reminds me of one of those cartoon characters, Donald or Daffy Duck about to blow. Maybe Yosemite Sam? Yeah, Yosemite Sam. All he needed was an orange, droopy mustache and a 10-gallon hat. I see him struggling to keep hold of his temper. Eventually, he gains control and manages to force out some words. Mr. Dugan, you are giving me no alternative, so I am placing you under arrest on suspicion of assaulting Mr. David Pratt. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defense if you do not mention when questioned something that you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. If you do not have or cannot afford a solicitor, one will be appointed for you. Grinning like a Cheshire cat, I pull on some jeans and a t-shirt and say cheerfully, "Shall we go?" He leads me out. As I pass the open living room door, I can't resist and say, "Happy now? Pick your stuff up and bug off. Go to your mother's or whatever brothel you work at." I'm handed over to a couple of plods and they stick me in the back of a car and drive me to the Nick. On the way, one of them says, "You really made a mess of that bloke. Not that I blame you. I would have probably done the same if he'd been with my missus." "If I'd known about him," I say through gritted teeth, "I would have done more than that. How is he? Will he live?" "Don't know." "Tell me, that officer, the detective, is he always such a jerk?" I hear two stifled sniggers, but neither offers an opinion. A short while later, I am booked in and left in an interview room. Expecting a long wait, I rest my head on my arms and try to go to sleep. It seems every time I manage to nod off, someone comes barging in and wakes me up. Eventually, Detective Dipstick comes in and sits on the other side of the table. After asking me whether I wanted to have legal representation, he cautions me again and informs me the interview is being taped. He states his and my name and the time, 4:57, charges me with assault, both aggravated and grievous bodily harm, and tells me they are considering charges of attempted murder. He advised me again that I should really get a solicitor. After I declined again, he asked me where I was at the time of the assault on Mr. Homewrecker. I speak as if I found him mentally deficient in some way. Enunciating slowly and carefully, I say, "As I told you last night, I was returning home from Newcastle. I drove straight home with no stops, and followed an ambulance to my home after it overtook me on the Huntingdon Road. Upon arrival, I discover a parcel of police officers, yourself included. Is it a parcel? Perhaps drove or drift would be more appropriate. Nevertheless, there was a lot of you and some bleeding pig gut on my doorstep, shortly after I also discovered that my wife was the pig he had been intimate with. Since then, I have had my clothing taken from me and not allowed to clean up after a long day's work, even though I vomited and remained nauseous for some time after both seeing and smelling residual confirmation of my wife's betrayal. Also, I have been prevented from sleeping. I have now been awake for over 25 hours. I pause briefly. All of this I told you at my house shortly after I arrived home. I watch his anger rising again. I note earlier I had missed the reddening of his ears as the first sign of his displeasure the first time I had goaded him. Have you any way to substantiate this? Yes. If he could have gotten away with it, I swear he would have punched me. Instead, he asks, forcing the words out, "Why didn't you say this beforehand? Why didn't you ask?" I think a full 2 minutes pass before he speaks again. "What proof?" "Has he still got his private parts?" I asked. "What? Has he still got his private parts?" I would have thought that is an easy question to answer. A straightforward yes or no. Now look here. What's wrong? Question too difficult for you? I'll try to make it easier for you. If I had known that I am married to a deceitful slag and she was found with some guy, I would have chucked the woman out and castrated the said guy. Therefore, if he still has his private parts, it wasn't me. Mr. Dugan, I don't think you are taking this seriously. Christ, maybe you're not as stupid as you look. I grin and pretend to be shocked. I will ask you again. Have you any proof you were not there? Not on me, but if we go back to my van, I can prove where I was at 7:30. And what good would that do? I just sit and shrug. He looks at me in a way that makes me think he is trying to stare me into submission. The thought makes me laugh, and he snaps at me. What is this proof? Oh, maybe just a signed, dated, and timed proof of delivery stating I was in Newcastle at 7:30-ish. Will that do? I try not to grin as I watch him trying to work out the time necessary to drive the 252 miles. I fail. In fact, I laugh again when he starts counting on his fingers. His ears are glowing red enough that if he was standing on the side of a road, the traffic would stop. Finally, he says triumphantly, "What's that? About 200 miles, mostly dual carriageways and motorways. If you put your foot down, you could have done it no problem. No, matey, that don't give you an alibi." "It must all add up then, mustn't it?" I smile and raise my eyebrows at him several times, taunting him further. Glowering at me, he spits out that he has suspended the interview, tells me to stay put, and leaves the room. 5 minutes later, he comes storming back into the room. "You knew I was out on my calculations, didn't you?" I say nothing, my only reply being a wide grin, as I imagine him shouting, "Whoa, whoa," firing 6 guns, and claiming to be the rottenest detective in all of East England. It's a real shame he doesn't have a droopy orange mustache. I do chuckle a bit when I think of his knowledge of geography and math skills being recorded for prosperity. He leaves the room again, and after 10 minutes I decide to try and get my head down again. It does me no good. I can't stop sniggering. Eventually, and somewhat subdued, and tells me that I can go. It's not that simple, of course. I have to be formally de-arrested and sign forms before I am allowed to go about my merry way. Parts of me are happy the woman is still at home when I get there. The part of me that forgot to pick up my keys last night, and the part that didn't want to make the choice of breaking into my own house and have a window to repair or camping out on the mattress on the front lawn. To be honest, it doesn't look like she has had much more sleep than I have. Of course, as she lets me in, she's full of apologies, how it was a mistake, and she would never do it again. I managed to contain myself, even when she said it was the first time. I had to be careful, and maintain my ignorance after all. If I had known about it beforehand, it may have been possible to have instigated the attack in some way. Ignoring her platitudes, I go up and have that shower I had promised myself last night. As the warm water washes over me, I start to plan my day. The first thing I think of is to see a solicitor. Do they work on Saturdays? I resolve to hit the net when I've done one other job and have a look. I towel myself dry and go into the bedroom for a clean shirt, shreddies, and socks. Nothing has changed since I was last in here. I cast a look out of the window and give a nod of satisfaction, seeing her clothes still adorning our and 2 neighbors' gardens. Seeking a solicitor becomes third on the to-do list. As I get to the bottom of the stairs, she calls through, telling me she has made a coffee. I must admit, I could really use one. I join her in the living room. She is standing, looking at me. Her eyes are red, and streaks from them run down her cheeks. "Who is he?" I asked. "No one. I mean no one you know." I stand looking back at her, waiting for an answer to my question. I'm not sure how long it is before she breaks. "Don Stebbins." Armed with the name, I walk over to the phone and dial the hospital. A few words with someone on the other end, and I am put through to his ward. I inquire about his health, and of course, they spout the normal bollocks about how they can't tell me anything at all, so I ask if he has any family with him. I smile when they tell me his wife is there, and she will go and fetch her. I listen to the clip-clop of her footsteps leaving and then returning before the receiver is picked up. "Hello, this is Julie Stebbings. Who is this?" "Hi, Julie. My name is Cole. Colin Dugan. You don't know me for that matter, neither does your husband. I am calling to let you know where I live." "I don't understand. Why would I want to know your address?" "I thought you might like to come and meet my wife, Ann Dugan." "And why, Mr. Dugan, would I want to meet your wife?" "Oh, I just thought you would prefer somewhere a little more private than a hospital ward when you first meet. You know you can talk about things. You know, things that women talk about, knitting, housework, and such. Maybe swap recipes and discuss the length and width of your husband's private part and what it is exactly that makes him such a terrific lover that my wife has chosen to be my ex-wife for the love of it." Anne had been watching me, listening to my every word in disbelief, but finally she screamed, "No!" I expect Mrs. Stebbings to slam the receiver back in its cradle. Instead, she asks me for my address. I give it to her along with my mobile number, and she tells me she will come right away. I tell her I will put the kettle on. While waiting, I think about spreading a plastic sheet down on the living room floor. But after checking how much yogurt and whipped cream is in the fridge, I decided against it. Much quicker than I would have thought possible, a screech of tires announces her arrival. I hope she allowed for the 2-speed cameras. I would rather she not get any tickets on top of everything else. I open the front door before she gets to it. I'm pleased I have. The way she comes in, I think she may have knocked it down if it were closed. Seeing my wife, she demands, "Is it true?" "Look, it's not like—" A sound reminiscent of a bullwhip fills my ears. "Don't you dare lie to me, you cheating woman!" Julie screams. "You have to understand," Anne sobs. "We didn't mean it to happen." What? I wonder. You didn't mean to dress in sexy underwear for him, didn't mean to invite him here when I wasn't here. I wonder silently to myself as the little drama plays out before me. "We? You mean you? And you did nothing to stop it?" Julie's voice now a mere 90 decibels. "We just could—" Anne blusters. You could have said, "No, I am married," or "No, you are married." He should have said the same, but ooh, no. Instead, you chose to be a cheating woman. Julie's voice was now low enough to be called shouting. No, it wasn't like—" Crack. "Well, I hope you'll be happy with him. Look after him when they let him out of hospital." She sniggers. "They tell me he will need a lot of looking after. You'll have to dress him, feed him, even wipe his back. Your husband has done a damn fine job educating him." She looks over to me and says sweetly, "Thank you." "Oh, excuse me, but as I told Detective Brain Surgeon last night, if I had done it, he wouldn't still have his private parts. Nah, I'll wait until he's back on his feet before I let him know how much he has pissed me off. Tea or coffee?" "Coffee, please," she says with a smile. We leave the unfaithful woman and go sit in the kitchen, the innocent and betrayed partners, to talk of many things, of deceitful people, disloyal partners, marriages, and everything in between. Of why the cheats are lying twats, and the tarnishing of our rings. We speak for a while. Several times I hear Anne come out to the hallway and then go back into the living room. Perhaps she doesn't enjoy listening to us sharing our hurt and betrayal. When we feel we have said enough, I walk her to the door and say goodbye. I follow her out and drag the mattress around to the back garden. I pick up the slags, clothes, and other bits and bobs and pile them on top. When I fetch the green petrol can out of the shed, I hear her scream, "No!" again. I start pouring the contents over the pile as she runs to me. "Have you got a light?" I ask her, and then add, "Not the red one you hang outside when I'm not here." "No, please don't burn my stuff, please no. I've got one job to do that I was leaving until after this was burning. I'll do that first, but when I get it done, I'll come back and burn whatever is still here." "Please, Doug, don't do this. I'm sorry. I love you." "Yeah, sure you do." "I do, Doug. I didn't mean it. I didn't think—" "Didn't think what? Didn't think I'd find out? Didn't think it mattered? No, you cheating woman. You didn't think I mattered. Well, heck you. Now pick up your stuff and get out before I throw you on the pile with the rest of the crap." I go inside, and a few minutes later I'm looking up solicitors. I settled on one, but it's not open today, so I will have to wait until Monday. I go back outside to find Anne has picked most of her clothes and other stuff up and gone. Breathing a sigh of relief, I set the mattress alight and pick up any bits she has dropped and throw them on top. 14 months go by before I receive the decree absolute, changing my status to single. Anne's brats are now 6 months old, and they are definitely not mine, so I haven't got to pay for the little bastards, which is nice. Pastor Donald Stebbings is still trying to get his wife to forgive him. Personally, I think he just wants a familiar hand to wipe his arse because he can't do it for himself yet. As for Detective Brian Small, seriously, that is his name. He has never found out who did it, although he did pull me in a couple more times to help him with his inquiries. But I wasn't very helpful. There are a few things I didn't tell him. I didn't tell him that my mate Stu called on me a couple of weeks earlier. I didn't tell him that she had answered the door to him dressed in a negligee and told him to get on his bike, or that Stu had hung around by his bike for a smoke and to call another mate and just happened to see the pastor roll up and get greeted by Anne. I didn't tell him that Stuart met me in Newcastle with a very fast motorcycle, a Hayabusa if you're interested, or that we switched vehicles, allowing me to get home just as the guy was finishing his visit with my wife. I certainly didn't mention how I gave him a clear message about the consequences of his actions, or that I rode to a prearranged spot, took off the coveralls I had worn for the ride, and so on. Nor did I say how I then met Stuart in a lay-by a few miles down a dark country road and swapped vehicles again before heading home. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I should have trusted my instincts 3 weeks ago when Lindsay started her new fitness routine, but here I am, watching security footage on my laptop at 2:17 a.m., and everything I suspected is playing out in high definition on my screen. 3 weeks ago, it started with small changes. Lindsay had always been health conscious, but suddenly she was obsessed with getting in shape for summer. She joined an exclusive gym across town and started taking long jogs in the afternoon, returning home flushed and energized, immediately heading for the shower. "I'm just so motivated lately," she'd say, toweling her hair dry. "Marcus really pushes me to be my best." Marcus, her married personal trainer who charged premium rates for house calls. Lindsay gushed about his methods, how he understood her body better than any trainer she'd ever worked with. Red flags I should have acted on immediately. But I've been burned before. My first marriage ended when I discovered my ex-wife's affair through confrontation rather than preparation. I learned then that accusations without evidence just give cheaters time to cover their tracks. This time, I decided to be smart about it. The morning I installed the GPS tracker, Lindsay was hunting in the shower. I had 20 minutes while she got ready. The magnetic tracker was smaller than a matchbox and battery operated for 3 months. I attached it inside her rear wheel well, where road dirt would hide it completely. "Have a good workout, honey," I called out as she grabbed her gym bag. "Thanks, babe. Marcus is really going to work me hard today." She kissed my cheek, and I smelled the expensive perfume she'd started wearing to the gym. That afternoon, I watched the tracker's signal on my phone. Instead of going to the gym, Lindsay drove straight to Riverside Park, a secluded area with walking trails. She stayed there for 2 hours. When she came home, she was glowing with that post-workout flush. "Marcus really knows how to get my heart rate up," she said, heading straight for the shower again. The next day, I took a personal day and drove to Riverside Park. I found Lindsay's car, parked beside a silver Honda Civic in the most isolated section. Through binoculars, I watched her meet a tall, athletic man who had to be Marcus. They embraced like lovers, not like a trainer and client. That night, while Lindsay slept beside me, I researched security cameras online. I ordered a comprehensive system, 6 wireless cameras with motion activation, night vision, and cloud storage. I spent the weekend learning to install them myself, while Lindsay was at her sister's house. The cameras went in strategic locations: living room, kitchen, our bedroom, her home office, and the front and back entrances. I used my workshop in the basement as a monitoring station, setting up alerts to send footage directly to a secure cloud account Lindsay couldn't access. For 2 weeks, I watched their pattern develop. Marcus would arrive 20 minutes after Lindsay's supposed departure for solo jogs. He'd park 3 blocks away and walk to our house, entering through the back door that Lindsay would leave unlocked. But the footage revealed something worse than just physical betrayal. Yesterday's recording showed them in the living room, post-coital, discussing strategy. "A simple divorce isn't enough," Lindsay said, curled against Marcus's chest on my couch. He makes good money, but his lawyer would drag it out forever. I need something that gives me leverage." "What are you thinking?" Marcus asked. "If he seemed dangerous, unstable, if there was a domestic violence incident," she trailed off meaningfully. Marcus sat up, interested. "You mean like he hit you?" Lindsay smiled, a cold expression I'd never seen before. "Exactly like that. One call to 911, some visible injuries, and suddenly I'm the victim who deserves everything." Watching that footage, something inside me crystallized. This wasn't about saving my marriage anymore. This was about survival. Lindsay wasn't just planning to leave me, she was planning to destroy my life and potentially send me to prison. I've spent the last week preparing for the inevitable. I've quietly consulted with a criminal defense attorney, backed up all surveillance footage to multiple secure locations, and prepared a go-bag in case I need to post bail. Lindsay thinks she's planning the perfect crime. She has no idea she's been confessing to everything on high-definition video for weeks. The footage library has grown to over 60 hours of recorded betrayal, and I've cataloged every second of it. What started as documenting an affair has become something much darker, a comprehensive record of conspiracy and premeditated fraud. I know their schedules better than they do. Marcus arrives every Tuesday and Thursday at 1:15 p.m., parking his Honda exactly 3 blocks away. He walks through the wooded area behind our neighborhood, entering through our back gate at 1:35 p.m. Lindsay unlocks the back door at 1:30 p.m. after texting me about going for a long jog through the park. The GPS data corroborates everything. While I'm at work believing she's exercising, Lindsay's car never leaves our driveway. Marcus's phone shows he's not at the gym during these hours either. His wife Sarah thinks he's with private client. The affair footage is extensive but predictable. They use every room except my home office, leaving evidence everywhere. Wine glasses, rumpled cushions, scattered clothes. Lindsay showers afterward, washing away evidence while I remain at work, clueless. What's devastating is the planning footage. Over 3 weeks, I've recorded 5 conversations where they discuss framing me for domestic violence. Their strategy has evolved from spontaneous idea to detailed plan, with specific steps and timing. In Tuesday's recording, Lindsay practices applying makeup bruises while Marcus coaches her technique. He's skilled at creating realistic injury effects using theatrical makeup from his background in local theater productions. The key, Marcus explains while blending purple and blue makeup on Lindsay's jaw, is layering the colors properly. Fresh bruises have specific color patterns. Lindsay studies herself in the mirror. It looks so real. I almost believe it myself. That's good. You need to believe it when you call 911. Thursday's footage shows them rehearsing the actual call. Lindsay practices her victim voice, working on sounding genuinely terrified. Marcus plays my role, shouting scripted threats so Lindsay can practice responding convincingly. Remember, Marcus coaches, you're performing for cops, neighbors, and eventually a judge if this goes to trial. The most chilling moment comes when Lindsay asks, what if he tries to show them video or something? Marcus dismisses this easily. Who's going to believe him? Violent husband claims he has secret recordings? That makes him look more controlling. Besides, any lawyer will get that thrown out as illegally obtained. They laugh about how the plan plays into domestic violence stereotypes. Controlling husband, vulnerable wife, escalating abuse. Lindsay mentions she's been setting up the narrative for weeks, casually telling friends, I've been stressed and short-tempered. I've been planting seeds, she explains. When this happens, people will say they saw it coming. I've researched Marcus's background too. He's married to Sarah Wellington, a kindergarten teacher at Riverside Elementary. She has no idea about her husband's infidelity or his willingness to help frame innocent people for violent crimes. Through social media, I've learned Sarah and Marcus have been married 8 years. She regularly posts about their perfect marriage and has been struggling with fertility treatments for 3 years. Sarah deserves to know the truth, but strategically, she's going to be crucial when this all comes out. A wife's testimony about her husband's lies will be devastating for their defense. The financial evidence is substantial, too. I've tracked over $3,000, 0 cents in cash withdrawals Lindsay made over 2 months, money corresponding exactly with Marcus's private training sessions. Credit card records show purchases of expensive lingerie and wine I never saw. Most damning is their discussion of what happens after I'm arrested. They've planned how to move in together immediately, using my assets while I'm tied up in legal proceedings. Once he's got a domestic violence charge, no judge will sympathize with him, Lindsay explains. I'll get the house, the savings, everything. The audio quality is perfect. Their faces are clearly visible. The premeditation is undeniable. They've handed me enough evidence to destroy both their lives, and they have no idea they've been confessing to felony charges on camera. Tonight, I'm backing up the final recordings to 3 separate secure cloud accounts. Lindsay has been more aggressive lately, trying to provoke reactions she can use against me. She starts arguments in public, where witnesses might see me as controlling. But I don't react anymore. I document everything and stay calm, knowing her increasing desperation means the plan is accelerating. When the time comes, I'll let the evidence speak for itself. The trap is set, and Lindsay is walking directly into it with the confidence of someone who believes she's in complete control. For the past week, she's escalated her provocation attempts while I've maintained perfect documentation of every manipulative tactic. Yesterday morning, I met with David Lewis, a criminal defense attorney specializing in false accusation cases. I presented it as hypothetical consultation about a friend's situation, but David read between the lines. Your friend should know that false police reports are felony charges in this state, David said carefully. If someone attempted to frame him with premeditation and conspiracy, we're talking about serious prison time for the accuser. I paid David's consultation fee in cash and left with his business card. I also transferred $50,000, 0 cents, to a separate account for legal fees and bail. The surveillance equipment has been running flawlessly for over a month. I've got 127 hours of footage stored across 3 secure cloud platforms. The backup system is redundant. Even if Lindsay discovered and destroyed the physical cameras, the evidence would remain safe. Lindsay's behavior has become increasingly erratic as her plan approaches execution. She's been picking fights over trivial matters, hoping to provoke a response she can escalate. Yesterday, she knocked over wine in the kitchen, then claimed I grabbed her arm too roughly when I steadied her. You're getting more aggressive lately, she said, rubbing her arm dramatically. That hurt. I apologized and cleaned up while she photographed her arm, presumably building evidence for her performance. But my cameras captured everything from multiple angles, showing clearly that my touch was gentle and protective. She's been staging accidents, too. Last week she claimed I pushed past her on the stairs. She practices stumbling when I walk near her, creating opportunities to claim intimidation. Each incident is photographed in what I assume is a journal, establishing a pattern of abuse. The most disturbing development is her new friendship with Janet Morrison, our neighbor who works as a domestic violence counselor. Lindsay has coffee with Janet regularly, discussing her concerns about my behavior. I'm probably just being paranoid, Lindsay told Jeanette last week. But he's been so controlling lately. He questions where I go, seems suspicious of everything. Janet, trained to recognize warning signs, responded exactly as Lindsay hoped. Trust your instincts. Those behaviors often escalate. Lindsay is building a narrative with professional validation. Janet's testimony would be powerful evidence if I hadn't recorded Lindsay rehearsing these conversations with Marcus first. Marcus has been preparing too. Yesterday's footage showed him bringing props, fake blood, theatrical makeup, and printed instructions on documenting injuries for legal proceedings. The photos have to look authentic, Marcus explained. Lighting, angles, timing, everything matters. They spent 2 hours staging a complete dress rehearsal. Lindsay applied bruise makeup while Marcus photographed the process. They practiced her 911 call, with Marcus shouting believable threats in the background. Remember, Marcus coached, you called because you feared for your life. That fear has to be in your voice. Lindsay's performance was Oscar-worthy. Listening to her practice scared pleas while laughing between takes was genuinely chilling. They've scheduled their performance for tonight. I know because they discussed timing extensively. Friday evening, when neighbors are home to hear the disturbance, when police response is slower, and when I would typically be relaxed and drinking wine. Friday night is perfect, Lindsay told Marcus. He'll have had a few drinks, so he might react more aggressively. If not, at least the cops will smell alcohol. She's been encouraging me to drink all week. but I've been nursing single glasses and dumping most down the sink. I'll be completely sober when her performance begins. Marcus is creating an alibi by telling Sarah he has a late training session with a client who requested Friday evening hours. Sarah posted on Facebook about having a girls' night, alone, while her husband works late. At 6:30 p.m., I received Lindsay's usual text, "Going for a long run. Don't wait up for dinner." But her car never left the driveway, and Marcus appeared on Maple Street, right on schedule. They're upstairs now, making final preparations. Through my bedroom camera, I watch Lindsay applying bruise makeup with professional precision while Marcus reviews their script. She's transformed herself from healthy, uninjured woman to convincing domestic violence victim in under 30 minutes. Lindsay has no idea that every step is being recorded in crystal clear detail. She believes she's about to destroy my life with one phone call. Instead, she's about to hand police officers a complete confession to conspiracy, fraud, and filing false reports. The irony is perfect. The person who made the 911 call will be leaving in handcuffs tonight. The police sirens are getting closer, and Lindsay is making final adjustments to her makeup in our bedroom mirror. Through my hidden cameras, I watch her apply fake blood to her split lip while Marcus coaches her through breathing exercises to maintain her traumatized performance. "Well," Ford sighs. "Remember," Marcus whispers, "you're in shock. You're scared. Don't oversell it. Let him see you trying to be brave." Lindsay nods, practicing her victim expression one last time. She's transformed herself into a genuinely convincing abuse victim, complete with bruised cheekbone, split lip, and torn clothing suggesting a violent struggle. The doorbell rings, followed by authoritative knocking. "Police, open up!" Lindsay takes a shaky breath and heads downstairs while Marcus slips out the back door, timing his exit perfectly. His Honda will be gone before the officers finish taking Lindsay's statement. I meet the police at the front door, Officers Rodriguez and Patterson. They're professional, but clearly expecting to arrest a domestic abuser based on the 911 call they received 20 minutes ago. "Sir, we received a domestic violence report from this address," Officer Rodriguez says, his hand resting on his service weapon. "We need to speak with you and your wife separately." Lindsay appears behind me, and her performance is flawless. The bruises look authentic, her hands are shaking, and she's mastered the expression of someone trying to appear strong while barely holding together. "Thank God you're here," she whispers to Officer Patterson, who immediately moves to separate us for interviews. Rodriguez escorts me to the living room while Patterson takes Lindsay to the kitchen. I can hear her giving her statement in a voice perfectly calibrated to sound traumatized but determined. "He's been getting more controlling lately," Lindsay tells Patterson, her voice cracking with practiced emotion. "Tonight he just snapped. We were arguing about dinner and he punched me in the face. I thought he was going to kill me." Rodriguez is studying my demeanor carefully, looking for signs of guilt or aggression. I remain calm, cooperative, and completely unsurprised. "Sir, your wife has serious injuries and claims you assaulted her. What's your response?" "Officer, before you arrest me," I say calmly, "I have something important to show you, a video that explains exactly what happened here tonight." Rodriguez becomes suspicious. "Anything you want to say can be used against you. Are you sure you want to make a statement without an attorney?" "I'm sure, but I need both officers to see this together, with my wife present." Rodriguez calls Patterson over and they exchange glances, clearly communicating their shared assumption that I'm about to make their case easier with a confession. Lindsay looks nervous for the first time. "You don't need to show them anything, just cooperate." "Actually, I think this will help them understand completely," I reply, pulling out my laptop. I open the surveillance footage, starting with today's preparation session. The high-definition video shows Lindsay and Marcus in our bedroom, applying theatrical makeup to create convincing bruises and injuries. Both officers lean forward, studying the screen intently, as Lindsay's face goes pale beneath her fake bruises. "This was recorded 3 hours ago," I explain calmly. "You're watching my wife and her affair partner preparing to frame me for domestic violence." The footage is devastating. Crystal clear video and audio of Lindsay practicing her victim performance while Marcus coaches her technique. Their discussion of timing, their rehearsal of the 911 call, their laughter about how easily they could get rid of me. Officer Patterson looks from the screen to Lindsay with complete shock. "Ma'am, is this you in the video?" Lindsay's performance crumbles instantly. The practiced vulnerability disappears, replaced by anger and desperation. "That video is fake. He must have doctored it somehow. You can't believe him over me. Look at my injuries." But the officers are examining her injuries with entirely different eyes. What looked convincing 10 minutes ago now appears obviously artificial. "Impressive point," the officer. I continue playing footage from previous weeks. Lindsay and Marcus discussing their plan in detail, their practice sessions, their expectation that I'd be arrested and unable to defend myself in divorce proceedings. "Jesus Christ," Officer Rodriguez mutters as Lindsay's recorded voice explains how she could get everything if I had a domestic violence charge. "There's more," I say, opening financial records. GPS data, bank statements, phone records, and over 100 hours of video evidence documenting their affair and conspiracy. Lindsay realizes her situation is hopeless, and her mask completely slips. The traumatized victim act disappears, replaced by the calculating person I've been watching for weeks. "You sick bastard," she snarls. "You've been spying on me, recording private conversations? That's illegal." "Actually," Officer Patterson says, consulting his phone, "recording conversations in your own home is legal in this state, but filing false police reports and conspiracy to commit fraud are felonies." The transformation is complete. 10 minutes ago, Lindsay was a sympathetic domestic violence victim. Now both officers are looking at her with disgusted recognition that they nearly participated in destroying an innocent man's life. "Ma'am," Officer Rodriguez says formally, "you're under arrest for filing a false police report and providing false information to law enforcement." Lindsay's final manipulation attempt is directed at Officer Patterson, who had been sympathetic moments earlier. "Please, you have to understand. He's been psychologically abusing me for months. I was just trying to protect myself." But Patterson has seen too much evidence. "Ma'am, we have you on video admitting this was premeditated fraud. You have the right to remain silent." As they handcuff Lindsay, she turns to me with pure hatred. "You think you've won? Wait until everyone hears about your secret cameras, your paranoid surveillance. No one will ever trust you again." I remain calm as they read her Miranda rights. "Lindsay, everyone's going to hear the truth, all of it, including Marcus's wife." Her face goes white as she realizes the full scope of what I've documented and who else will be affected. The officers escort Lindsay to their patrol car while I provide copies of the surveillance footage and supporting evidence. Officer Rodriguez shakes his head as he reviews the timeline. "Sir, I have to ask, how did you know to set up cameras?" "I've been married before," I reply. "I learned that when someone shows you who they really are, you should believe them and document everything." As the patrol car pulls away with Lindsay in the back seat, I realize the hardest part is over. The truth has been revealed, justice is being served, and I'm still a free man instead of sitting in jail while Lindsay emptied our accounts. But this is just the beginning. Tomorrow I have a phone call to make to a kindergarten teacher named Sarah, who deserves to know the truth about her husband. Sarah Wellington answers her phone on the second ring, her voice cheerful and unsuspecting. "Hello? Mrs. Wellington, my name is David. You don't know me, but I have information about your husband Marcus that I think you deserve to know." There's a pause, and when she speaks again, her voice carries the cautious tone of someone who's received unexpected calls before. "What kind of information?" "The kind that might help you understand why your marriage isn't what you think it is." "Could we meet somewhere public? I have evidence I'd rather show you in person." 2 hours later, Sarah and I sit in a quiet corner booth at Morningside Diner. She's exactly what I expected from her social media presence. Kind-paced, soft-spoken, the type of person who teaches kindergarten because she genuinely loves helping children grow. "Mrs. Wellington," I begin carefully, "yesterday my wife was arrested for filing false domestic violence charges against me. Her affair partner, your husband, helped her plan the entire thing." Sarah's face goes through several expressions: confusion, disbelief, then dawning horror as I show her the surveillance footage on my laptop. The video evidence is comprehensive. Sarah watches her husband of 8 years passionately kissing my wife in my living room. She sees Marcus helping Lindsay apply fake bruises and coaching her through 911 call rehearsals. She hears him laugh about framing an innocent man for violent crimes. "Oh my God," Sarah whispers, her hand covering her mouth. "That's really him? I'm sorry. I know this is devastating, but you deserve to know the truth." Sarah stares at the screen as I show her GPS data proving Marcus lied about his whereabouts during his supposed private training sessions. Bank records showing Lindsay paid him over $3,000. 0 cents. Phone records documenting hundreds of calls and texts between them over 4 months. All those nights he said he was working late, Sarah says quietly. All those weekends he claimed to have emergency clients. He was with your wife. Planning to destroy my life, I add. The domestic violence frame job was their exit strategy. Lindsay gets everything in the divorce while I fight felony charges and Marcus gets to start fresh with her money. Sarah is processing the betrayal methodically, her teacher's mind organizing the evidence and timeline. 4 months ago, Marcus started acting different, more secretive, less affectionate. He said he was stressed about building his business. I show Sarah the final piece, footage from 2 days ago where Marcus and Lindsay discuss their post-arrest plans. They talk about moving in together immediately, using my assets to fund their new life, and Marcus finally leaving his boring, pathetic wife, who can't even get pregnant properly. Sarah's composure finally breaks, not dramatic sobbing, but the quiet tears of someone whose world has just crumbled. We've been trying to have children for 3 years. Through fertility treatments, miscarriages, thousands of dollars in medical bills, and he called me pathetic. Sarah, I'm not just here to show you what your husband did. I'm here to offer you the same thing your husband tried to take from me, the truth, and the evidence you need to protect yourself. I slide a USB drive across the table. Everything is on here. The affair footage, conspiracy evidence, financial records, GPS data, phone records. Marcus helped plan a felony, and he's going to face charges. But you can use this to protect yourself in divorce proceedings. Sarah stares at the USB drive like it contains nuclear secrets. This is really happening, isn't it? My marriage is over. Your marriage to a man who doesn't exist was over 4 months ago. Now you get to divorce the man he really is with evidence that will protect your interests. Sarah's transformation begins immediately, just as mine did when I first suspected Lindsay's betrayal. The shock gives way to practical thinking, the devastation transforming into determination. That is the turn. What kind of charges is Marcus facing? She asks. Conspiracy to commit fraud, accessory to filing false police reports, potentially conspiracy to commit perjury. He's looking at serious prison time. Sarah nods, her mind already working through implications. So he'll be arrested soon? I expect charges within the week. Then I need to file for divorce immediately, before he can hide assets. Sarah's voice is getting stronger, more determined. Over the next hour, Sarah and I develop her strategy. She'll file for divorce Monday morning, citing adultery with comprehensive video evidence. She'll change the locks while Marcus is at work, having him served when he returns. She'll freeze joint accounts and document all marital assets. The fertility treatments, Sarah says with growing anger. The money we spent, the trauma I went through, while he was planning to leave me for your wife. He watched me cry over miscarriages while sneaking around. Now you can make sure he pays for that betrayal, literally and figuratively. Sarah leaves with purpose and evidence, transformed from victim to advocate for her own justice. Watching her walk to her car, shoulders straight and expression determined, I recognize the same transformation I went through. Meanwhile, Lindsay sits in county jail, unable to make bail due to flight risk. Her attempts to claim she was psychologically abused have fallen flat with prosecutors, who've reviewed hours of footage showing her as the primary architect. Marcus doesn't know yet that his world is about to collapse. He thinks Lindsay was arrested for poor execution, not for the plan itself being exposed. He has no idea his wife now possesses evidence of his affair, lies, and criminal conspiracy. His arrest will come Tuesday morning. They're building an airtight case that will likely result in felony convictions for both Lindsay and Marcus. But legal consequences are just the beginning. Sarah's divorce will destroy Marcus financially. Adultery laws combined with video evidence will ensure she receives a favorable settlement. His business will collapse when the scandal becomes public. His reputation will be ruined permanently. Lindsay faces similar total destruction. Her criminal charges carry potential prison time, and our divorce proceedings will be straightforward given the overwhelming evidence. She'll lose everything she was trying to steal from me. That evening, I receive a text from Sarah. Filed for divorce this morning. Changed locks this afternoon. Marcus is served and homeless as of 6 p.m. today. Thank you for giving me the truth. The reckoning is complete. Two people who thought they were smart enough to destroy innocent lives have discovered that comprehensive evidence and patient preparation beat manipulation and deception every time. 3 months later, I'm sitting in my new home office, watching the sunset through windows that don't hide surveillance cameras. The house is smaller than the one I shared with Lindsay, but it's mine alone, purchased with assets she'll never touch. Lindsay was sentenced to 18 months in county jail for filing false police reports and conspiracy to commit fraud. Her attempts to portray herself as a victim failed when prosecutors presented over 100 hours of video evidence showing her laughing while planning my destruction. She pleaded guilty to avoid a longer sentence. Marcus received 2 years in state prison after prosecutors added identity fraud charges. He had been billing clients for sessions with Lindsay under false business documentation. His criminal record destroyed any chance of working in fitness after release. Sarah proved remarkably strategic once she accepted the truth. She used my surveillance evidence to secure a divorce settlement that left Marcus with nothing. No assets, no business, no home, no reputation. She even received insurance payouts that Marcus had to cash out for legal fees. I spent 3 years trying to build a family with a man who was planning to abandon me, Sarah told me during our final coffee meeting. Now he gets to spend 2 years in prison thinking about what he destroyed. Sarah has thrived post-divorce. She used her settlement to purchase a small house near her school and has started dating a fellow teacher who admires how she handled her situation. She sends me Christmas cards, not because we're close, but because I gave her truth when she needed it most. The experience fundamentally changed how I approach relationships and trust. I still use security cameras, not from paranoia, but from hard-earned wisdom. I maintain comprehensive financial records and documentation habits that once seemed obsessive, but proved life-saving. Dating has been complicated. Some women are put off by what they see as controlling behavior. I've learned to be upfront about my experiences and boundaries. Better to filter out partners who can't understand why I verify rather than simply trust. My current relationship shows promise. Jessica is a forensic accountant who finds my documentation habits reassuring rather than concerning. You're the only man I've dated who understands that trust should be verified, she told me recently. That's not paranoia, that's intelligence. My career has flourished since the divorce. Without the stress of living with someone actively planning my destruction, I've been promoted twice. Colleagues who knew about the false accusations have been supportive, especially after the truth came out in court. The legal costs were substantial. Over $75,000, 0 cents in attorney fees and court costs, but worth every penny. I now maintain separate accounts, document major purchases, and keep detailed records of any relationship conflicts. The cameras saved my life and freedom. The surveillance prevented me from spending years in prison for crimes I never committed. The documentation protected my assets from fraudulent seizure. I've made peace with becoming someone who verifies trust, rather than assumes it. I've built new relationships with people who appreciate honesty and accountability. I now do occasional consulting work for divorce attorneys who need help with evidence organization. It's supplemental income, but more importantly, it allows me to help others protect themselves from elaborate deceptions. Last month, I helped a woman document her husband's financial fraud and affair. The evidence we gathered ensured she kept her assets and children while her husband faced criminal charges. "You saved my family," she told me after her husband's sentencing. The truth always surfaces, but only if someone takes the time and effort to document it properly. I've learned that people who plan elaborate betrayals usually reveal themselves completely if you're patient and thorough enough to capture their confessions. I sleep well now, in a house with cameras I don't need to hide, with accounts no one else can access, with documentation habits that ensure I'll never again be vulnerable to the kind of comprehensive deception Lindsay and Marcus attempted. The most important lesson: when someone shows you who they really are through their actions, believe them immediately and document everything. Trust is earned through consistent behavior over time, not through promises. It's not the life I planned, but it's a life built on honesty, evidence, and the hard-won knowledge that sometimes the only way to survive betrayal is to be smarter and more prepared than the people trying to destroy you. And that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please give this video a thumbs up and drop a comment below. Your support helps the algorithm push my content further. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps me keep creating more stories for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.